What's happening, everybody? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday. Welcome to Week 14. Start, sit, help ahead of this week. Can take other questions as well. Add drops, but potentially impacting your starting lineup. Guys that are still on the wire that you have your eye on. We'll get into all of it. We can talk shop. This, in all likelihood, in most leagues, the vast majority of leagues, the final week of the regular season. Fantasy playoffs in the majority of leagues starting in Week 15. Obviously, there are going to be exceptions to the rule. Your playoffs may have already started in a league with more playoff teams, or maybe you don't start until Week 16 if it's a smaller league or a smaller playoff bracket. Regardless, the vast majority playing the final regular season matchup tomorrow. So, I always preach context. As much context that you guys can provide will ultimately help determine what my suggestion is for your question. So not just, scoring and situation. And when I mean situation, I mean, like, are you a favorite? Are you an underdog? Or do you feel like a favorite? Do you feel like an underdog? Is it win and you're in? As much context as you could possibly provide will help sort out your starting lineup. We'll get into the latest injury updates and then, of course, chat questions. Let's see. There's been a lot of players ruled out for this week. Marvin Harrison ruled out. Michael Wilson needs to be in starting lineups. Trey Benson ruled out for Week 14. His time to get activated off injured reserve is rapidly running out at this point. Amari DiMercato is also out. So Bam Knight, while it's not a great matchup, certainly a viable play at running back if you need him. Lamar Jackson will play, no surprise there. Amarian Hampton is expected. It hasn't, I don't think, officially happened yet, but expected to be activated off of injured reserve and will play. Again, that is the expectation. He should play Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's volatile. If you have Hampton, if you have Kamani Vidal, we can talk shop on what your situation is. But if you are relying on Hampton, ideally you have another guy in the Monday night game that can go in an emergency situation in the event that he is ultimately ruled out. The expectation is that he will play. Hopefully he goes. He's, of course, risky in his first game back. He hasn't played since like week 5 or 6. So, if you have Hampton, we can talk shop on what your situation is. It will not be the same on a case-by-case basis. There will be scenarios where I tell you maybe have to start him and hope for the best, and there will be other situations where I tell you might be in good shape with your other options and go that route. T. Higgins will play Week 14 in a juicy fantasy matchup, Bills-Bengals in Buffalo this week. I believe it's expected to be cold, but I do not think there are supposed to be any significant elements to impact that game. Buffalo's weather tomorrow is what I'm seeing. 10 to 12 mile per hour winds, 35% chance of it would be snow because it's technically under freezing temperature. You're playing all Bills and Bengals in this game. If you don't want to play the kickers, fine, but you're playing your usual suspects in that game all across the board, including T. Higgins, who will be back. Jaden Daniels will also be back. He is going to suit up and play for the Washington Commanders Week 14 on the road against Minnesota. That is a tough spot. Again, some trepidation with Daniels. First game back, he didn't miss as much time as, say, Amari and Hampton, but still missed multiple weeks with that dislocated elbow on the road against a solid Vikings defense. Tough spot. You may not have anybody better, though, and you may just have to go with him. Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan will not play Week 14, so it'll continue to be Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson for Tampa Bay in a game at home against the New Orleans Saints. You can fire up Egbuka, although temper expectations, but at home in this matchup, he should be okay. Everybody else is kind of risky. Drake London out for week 14. So Kyle Pitts is certainly a viable play at tight end, just some potential increased usage. Darnell Mooney is as well, but it is a tough matchup against Seattle, even though it's a home game for Atlanta. So that's good. Alvin Kamara ruled out for week 14. It'll be another week for Devin Neal. That's a tough spot on the road against Tampa. Rome Odunze listed out week 14. This is not great. He is apparently week to week with a stress fracture in his foot. That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal. We'll wait and see what happens after this week, but if you are in the first round of the playoffs next week and Rome is not available to you and the vibes aren't good and he's not going to play, he may be a drop candidate. Not yet. Hold for now, but not good. Luther Burden is probably a guy that is worth, especially if you have Rome, a guy that is worth keeping an eye on at the very least, if not grabbing outright off of waivers. Kyle Monangai off the injury report. He will play. The Bears will be looking for production anywhere they can get it to make up for Odunze's absence. Tough matchup, though, against the Green Bay Packers on the road. J.J. McCarthy, Aaron Jones, a couple of Vikings off the injury report and will go for Minnesota. Again, at home against Washington. I don't love that spot. Well, I don't really love the Vikings offense in general. Would rather not play. Really wouldn't prefer not to play anybody in Minnesota, I guess, except for Justin Jefferson. But his ceiling is as low as it's ever been through no fault of his own. Woody Marks off the injury report for Week 14. Tough matchup on the road against Kansas City. Let's see. Justin Herbert is expected to play for the Chargers, but it'll be a pain tolerance thing with his left hand. Had a procedure on it. I believe it was a fracture in his left hand. So not his throwing hand, but will be dealing with some type of pain tolerance level, assuming he goes on Monday night. Jaden Reed was activated off injured reserve and will play for Green Bay. He hasn't seen much action at all this year. So fair to assume that they will ease him back in, probably not play a full role. A guy that you can certainly, if your roster is already set and you have Jaden Reed still on IR, maybe just don't plan to do anything and let's see how things shake out. But if you need to make a roster move and Reed is now blocking you from doing so, we could talk shop on what to do there. It's worth holding him at this point if you've held him this long, but we're certainly not playing Jaden Reed, not in his first game back for so much missed time. Parker Washington is questionable. Okay. Chris Olave will play. He was questionable with a back injury. Good to go. Wide receiver 2 upside on the road against Tampa. Kyron Williams is off the injury report as well. He is expected to split opportunities with Blake Corum, but perfectly fine to fire up Kyron in a great matchup against Arizona. I think those are all the significant injury updates that we have. So, of course, we'll keep an eye on things to see if we get any new updates between now and the end of the stream or, just later on in general. So, can start taking a look at start-sit questions. For anything you guys need going into the week. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are here for the first time, welcome in. Hopefully it's entertaining enough for you to stick around and hang out and talk some football. Members will get first priority in responses to their questions. It does not matter when I receive a member question. One of the perks of being a member of the channel is getting your comments and questions responded to ahead of the pack, ahead of everybody else. You can find more details about becoming a member of the channel in the first link in the description of this live stream. If you send a super, if you're feeling generous enough to send a super, that would also be a line jumper and a way to get your question answered sooner. You may also get some more out of me as far as my thoughts, analysis, basically diagnosis of your situation if it calls for it as a member or as a super sender. If you are not a member and you do not send a super, I will still answer your questions, but I do ask for some patience because the member and super questions will come first. Whether or not you are a member, if you could please like the stream if you're enjoying the conversation, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Let's get into it. I see Greg. What's going on, Greg? I see Bobby as well. I am calling out Bobby. Bobby's been a member for much of the season, but it looks like maybe that membership expired. So I'm going to do you a solid, Bobby, because you were a member, have been a member for much of last year and this year. I will answer these questions first. This one's on the house. This one's on me. But then I may have to have you cycle through, the non-member questions. But congratulations on being in the playoffs. Well done getting in. And you need to pick up a kicker, so you have to drop one. Yeah, so Bobby, we've been doing this dance, and I know you don't want to do it, but there's only one clear name here, and it's Jordan Love. And I know you're a Packers fan, and I know you don't want to drop your guys, and I appreciate your dedication to the fandom of your team. You have Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. At this point, keeping Jordan Love hurts. It hurts your team more than anything else. You do not need 3 quarterbacks in a 1-quarterback league, and Burrow and Daniels are better. They're better than Love. Burrow's better at an NFL and fantasy level. Daniels is better at a fantasy level, and that's what we're here for. Fantasy. Drop Jordan Love. You do not need him. If you don't drop Jordan Love, I think at this point you're going to have to make your own call, because that's the obvious drop. I know you're a Packers fan. I appreciate your fandom. You don't need 3 quarterbacks. You have 2 better ones. Keep Burrow, keep Daniels, drop Jordan Love. That's the only obvious choice here. It's the only obvious choice here. Okay. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. I'll keep an eye on if any other members pop in. Let's see. You need a wide receiver, 2 backs, and a flex. Aaron Jones, don't really want to. Monangai, interesting, but it's a bad matchup. Although he came through big time in a bad matchup last week. Chris Rodriguez, tough matchup. Woody, tough matchup. Debo gets Jaden Daniels back. Michael Wilson, for sure. Michael Wilson is absolutely the other wide receiver that you're playing alongside Nico. Michael Wilson has to be in all lineups. Well, I guess depending on shallower leagues, maybe not. But Michael Wilson is like a must-start player. He, as a wide receiver 1, without Marvin Harrison for 2 games, put up top 10 numbers. And he's at home, at home, no weather concerns, no issues, even more condensed target share, because not only is Marvin Harrison out, Greg Dortch is also out. They're going to be funneling a ton of opportunities. Zay Jones is on IR. Every opportunity, probably 75 to 80% of the targets are going to go to Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. Maybe not that much, but it's going to be a significant amount. And the Cardinals can't really run it all that well. They're going to have to throw. And assuming the Rams have a lead because the Rams are the much better team, they're going to be throwing even more. Michael Wilson needs to be in as many lineups as humanly possible. So he's your wide receiver. Your 2 backs, I mean, I don't really want to play Woody. That's a tough matchup. But he is I guess he is the starter. Aaron Jones is tough to trust, but it is a good matchup. And then Rodriguez is on the other side. That's a tough matchup. I think I would just play the matchups here, I guess, and I'll say Aaron Jones, and I don't love Woody, but I think because he's the starter, I mean, Chris Rodriguez is the starter too, but on the road against Minnesota is not my favorite. And if they're losing that game, I guess Woody could be. If Washington is losing that game, that's what I meant to say. Then Rodriguez is going to come off the field for McNichols. Whereas I think Woody will be involved for Houston regardless of game script. So I think that's my answer, Greg. I'll say Aaron Jones and Woody Marks. I don't love Aaron Jones, but he's the best player here still, even as an older player on a bad offense. And Woody should have a role no matter what the game script is. I'll take Jones and Woody. I would prefer Monangai over Rodriguez, but I don't know that I want to play him. Although you do need to pick up a flex. So I guess that comes down to Debo or Rodriguez or Monangai. I think I would go Debo. Just take the more guaranteed role. And with Jaden Daniels back, I guess I feel a little bit better about him. No Kincaid, no Pirine, no Keenan Allen. Yeah, I would play Michael Wilson for sure. I would go Aaron Jones and Woody as your backs, and I think I would go Debo as your flex and take the guaranteed role. That's what I would do. Okay, I don't see any other member questions at the moment. So let's move back up to the top of the chat. Chris Godwin or Troy Franklin? Did Pat Bryant get picked up? I mean, I guess I would probably go. I would go Franklin. Godwin just hasn't done that much. I know a lot of it's been he's been hurt, but to that point, it's like I think the recovery from the injury and the long timeline to return, and he's an older player at this point. Like he's been something of a part-time player for them. He just hasn't been putting up a ton of opportunities. At least it's a good matchup for Franklin. The problem with Franklin is the emergence of Pat Bryant, which has been happening over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, like I would maybe play, like is AD Mitchell out there? I would maybe take a shot on some more guaranteed work in a good matchup. I don't know if AD Mitchell's going to be worth it, and we might be chasing points from last week, but him and John Mechie are like, they're definitely going to play a lot of snaps, pretty much all of the snaps at wide receiver, and it's a good matchup against Miami. I don't love Franklin or Godwin this week. I may honestly try to pivot if you can. But Franklin, if those are your two best options. Waddle or Michael Wilson in full PPR? This is an intriguing question. I want to tell you to play both of them. But obviously, or find a way to get both of them into your lineup. Michael Wilson is on an incredible tear, very small sample size without Marvin Harrison, but he was a wide receiver one the weeks without him, and now not only is Harrison out again, but so is Greg Dortch. And the Cardinals are like, wherever you look, they're 8 or 9 point underdogs, which means they're expected to be trailing, which means they're probably going to be throwing. What did Michael Wilson do those 2 games without Marvin Harrison? Waddle's awesome, but the one thing that's going against him is that it's going to be a little cold in New York, and Tua's record in cold weather games is not good. His production goes way down in cold weather games. Michael Wilson, without Marvin Harrison, had a wide receiver 2 overall week and then a wide receiver 10 overall week. He had 25 catches in those 2 games. I think it has to be Michael Wilson. I mean, I know the sample size is small, and I know Waddle's he's a much more accomplished player, and therefore right now, today, he's a better player than Michael Wilson. There's no doubt Jalen Waddle's a better football player. But Michael Wilson, at home, no weather to worry about, 25 catches in 2 games without Marv, I think it has to be Michael Wilson. I want you to get Waddle in your lineup too, but if you can only play one, I mean, I think that's how automatic Michael Wilson feels right now, just given the sample size against or without Marvin Harrison. Waddle's playing in a game that's going to be 40 degrees at kickoff, and Tua does terribly in cold weather games. So, like, it's not a Waddle thing, it's a Tua thing. And then also Michael Wilson is in a much better spot without Marv and no weather in the Dome in Arizona. Michael Wilson, I think he's as close to a must-start as possible this week. But that being said, I want to play Waddle too. And then Jacoby Brissett or Lamar. Yikes. I mean, yeah, this is where we're at with Lamar Jackson. He's incredibly difficult to trust right now. Meanwhile, Jacoby Brissett has been incredible. Since entering the starting lineup, Jacoby has only been he's been a QB1, I think, every week except one. Yeah, he's a top five. He's a top five quarterback since he started, since entering the starting lineup. But like, are we really pivoting that far off of Lamar Jackson? I think until we see Lamar prove that he's healthy, I don't know that I want to mess around with that. I might tell you to go Jacoby, especially if you choose to play Michael Wilson. Then you might as well just stack it up. If this is the same league, then just play the stack. Play Jacoby and play Michael Wilson and benefit from the what they do together. And even if it's not the same league, I think I would still actually go Jacoby. It's super, super close, but Jacoby's been a top 5 quarterback in points per game for like 2 months now, and Lamar just simply hasn't. He's still Lamar Jackson, but I think I got to go Jacoby, especially if it's the same league and you can stack with Michael Wilson. Pick one for the flex. Swift, Jaylen Warren, Debo, Godwin, Shakir. Swift gets the Packers on the road. Jaylen Warren gets the Ravens. It's probably one of these. It's probably one of these running backs. They're both in committees. Swift is in a matchup against the Eagles, who won't have Jalen Carter. That was last week. Swift, they crushed the Eagles. They're in a matchup against the Packers. That's tough. Warren is against Baltimore. That's a little bit better. But he's ceding work to Kenny Gainwell. I think the matchup is a little bit better for Pittsburgh. Warren. I don't even, because it's standard scoring, I'm not even concerned about the wide receivers, respectfully. I'll take Warren in standard scoring. I know he's in a committee, but it's a decent matchup. And he's been solid. He's been solid this year. All right, winning in Charbonnet or Vidal. You have Adams, you have Michael Wilson, Smart. Those are both really good. Charbonnet or Vidal. Yeah, so Vidal gets the Eagles. Great matchup. Hampton is theoretically coming back. Charbonnet splitting work, with Kenneth Walker. Pretty good matchup against Atlanta. Kenneth Walker has seen more work recently. Charbonnet still gets the goal line work. Vidal is in a matchup against the Eagles. They got crushed on the ground last week by the Bears. That was with Jalen Carter. This week, the Eagles are without Jalen Carter, so that run defense is going to be even worse than it was last week. I think I play Vidal. Charbonnet might be fine, but he's an inefficient runner, and Walker has been getting more opportunities lately. Vidal should still have a role, even with Hampton returning, for at least this first week back for Hampton. And I'm pretty sure he was listed questionable, so it's not even 100% confirmed that Hampton is returning. So there is an outside chance that Vidal still handles like a significant workload out of this backfield. I'll take Vidal. I'll swing for the upside and take Vidal at home against an Eagles defense that just got crushed by the Bears run game last week. And then Bo or Jaden Daniels. Bo Nix has not done a whole heck of a lot this year. I know he had a solid game against Washington, but it's been a pretty lackluster showing for Bo Nix more often than not. It's not a great matchup for Jaden Daniels, but he is back. We drafted him to be a stud QB1. I'll rock with Daniels. It's not a great matchup, but he is back, and Bo Nix just hasn't been that good this year for the most part. Yeah, give me Vidal, give me Jaden Daniels. Yeah. Loveland. Okay, so this is a tight end question. Loveland should see more work, right? No Roma Dunze, so Colston Loveland should theoretically he should be on a full-time player for the Bears tomorrow. He should be, if he should be out there, obviously in 11 personnel with 2 tight end sets, and when they go, 3 wide, he should be out there as a wide receiver. Gadsden has fallen off a little bit, and the Eagles linebackers are solid, and Herbert is hurt. Hawkinson, I just don't want any part of that Vikings offense. And then Colby Parkinson, at least he's attached, it's a great offense. He's just not going to see too many opportunities behind Adams and Puka. Gadsden, he's been quiet recently, and it's not a good matchup. I'll say Loveland. It's tight. It's dicey. But, no Roma Dunze. I'll take my chances on Loveland. The Bears need to play him as a full-time player tomorrow. He should be getting 80 to 85% of the snaps. I would think. They need pass catchers without Rome. I'll take Loveland. Gadsden, bad matchup. Hawkinson, bad offense. Mason Taylor, good matchup. Good matchup. Just, we haven't seen enough recently, and Parkinson is just okay. Burden, Gadsden, or Trey Tucker. So Burden should see an expanded opportunity, is a little bit more interesting. Tucker gets Denver. That's a tough matchup. Did Tucker do well? I feel like Tucker did okay in the matchup against Denver a couple of weeks ago. I'm double-checking that right now. I think I lean Luther Burden slightly. Like, Caleb Williams, for all his faults, is a much better quarterback than Geno Smith. Against Denver a few weeks ago, he had 2 catches for 28 yards. Okay, that's not great. Now, it is a home game for Vegas, so that's a little bit better. Tucker, in his past 4 games, he has 1 wide receiver 2 performance against Dallas. So that's kind of a loaded, weighted performance, and then a bunch of performances outside the top 50. I'll take the swing on Luther Burden without Roma Dunze. I'll take the shot on Burden. And then need 2 between Debo, Vele, Rodriguez, Bam, Knight. I would probably go Bam just because he's got that. He doesn't quite have the backfield to himself, but Trey Benson remains out. Amari DiMercado is out. It's down to Bam Knight and Michael Carter. I'll take a shot on Bam. Rodriguez makes me a little concerned because, yes, Washington could win that game, but it is a road game, and Washington, I know Daniels is back, but they only have 3 wins. Like, they're not a good team. And Daniels, when he has played this year, has not, lit the world on fire. So if they're losing that game, McNichols will play, not Chris Rodriguez. So he's dicey. If they are winning the game, then Rodriguez will be in there. But it's just a matter of how much do you trust that that'll be the case? It feels like it's a true toss-up. That being said, Daniels, while he hasn't been great this year, the expectations are still there. So I feel better about Debo with him coming back. And because it's a PPR league, I'll take one of your wide receivers and play. I'll play Debo. I think he's healthy. The vibe seems to be that he's healthy. He might have had a couple of injuries earlier in the year. No injury designations recently. Terry McLaurin back takes targets away, but that also on the other side opens things up for him. I'll take Debo and I'll take Bam Knight. Vele, let's see if he can string some performances together. before we crown him. And Rodriguez, I feel like it's just a little volatile. He could be fine, but also there could be a lot of Jeremy McNichols if Washington is trailing. Debo's going to have a role no matter what, so I'll play him, and I'll play Bam Knight. No Trey Benson, no DeMercado. Let's see. I see everybody else's questions. I will get to them, but E111 just dropped in, so I got to take care of my members. What's going on? Jackson better than Stroud, Darnold, Shuck. Yeah, with that 8-point rushing touchdown, I think you have to go with Lamar and just hope for the best. Stroud, for the most part, hasn't been that great this year. Bad matchup against Kansas City. Darnold's been solid, but on the road, West Coast team traveling east for an early game in Atlanta. It's not a bad matchup by the numbers, but Darnold's been good this year, but he's not on Lamar's level from a fantasy perspective. Shuck has done some nice things, but he's on the road. That 8-point rushing touchdown scoring setup that you have, that tips the scales. And I know Lamar hasn't been running as much, but I think that's enough to make me roll it. That plus your other options is enough for me to say just go with Lamar and hope for the best. I know he has not been vintage Lamar this year, and we need to see him shake what could be that injury that is bothering him, which he hasn't done yet. But given your other options, I think we have to roll the dice with Lamar plus that scoring setting. If he can find the end zone on the ground, which we know Lamar is so capable of, I think that's worth the gamble. I think that's worth the risk of playing him. I would go Lamar over those other options. Yeah. It's crazy that this is the conversation. This is the bucket of other quarterbacks where it's like this is actually a question when it comes to Lamar Jackson. But to that point, I'm gonna in a clinching playoff scenario, or maybe you're trying to just move up or whatever it is, like start your studs. Lamar is historically a stud. I'm gonna rock with Lamar. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, winning in, and those are your options. I gotta go Lamar. I have to. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Don't want to be cute. Adams or Watson? Yeah, no, it's Adams. Adams is a look. Watson has been solid, but to that point, we don't want to overthink anything. Davante Adams is like the wide receiver 4 or 5 on the year, with the number of touchdowns that he scores. He's basically their goal line running back. This is well documented at this point. You have to play Davante Adams. He needs to be in every lineup no matter what. I know Watson has been solid, and he should do fine tomorrow. This is Davante Adams. You got to play him. Happy Saturday. Yeah, happy Saturday, everybody. Let's have a good week tomorrow. To Olave, he is in Devontae Smith, McLaurin, Debo. So I would definitely play Olave. He's on a nice run recently. Consolidated target tree, no Rashid Shaheed. They're going to be throwing the ball on the road, and Tyler Shuck has looked decent. So I'll go with Olave. Terry has a viable argument to be started ahead of Devontae Smith. It is a tough matchup by the numbers, but Terry balled out in a tough matchup last week. He's still the team's wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith has been the wide receiver 1 for the Eagles at times this year, but there have been those moments where A.J. Brown still has monster games, and more recently, A.J. Brown has been the better producer. I think with Daniels returning, I slightly go Terry over Devontae Smith. Slightly. It's not a great matchup, for Devontae either. I'll say Olave and McLaurin slightly over Devontae Smith. with Daniels back. And yes, you can play matchups in the playoffs with guys like Daniels and Dart. And obviously you're taking Daniels this week with Dart on bye. It's a good combo. Good combo to have. Who do I like more between DJ Moore and Luther Burden? I mean, I think it has to be the consensus, and the chalk play is gonna tell you that it's DJ Moore. He's the veteran. But Burden's, I mean, Moore has not had a great year, and so therefore I'm not sure that Burden is that far behind DJ Moore. Moore, what has he done like the past month? I know he had that touchdown on like a maybe busted coverage against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. And I think that was a 2-touchdown game for him. It was his only multi-touchdown game this year, and he scored 3 touchdowns on the season. 2 of them came in that game. He did have a 4 for. Oh, and he had a 17-yard rushing touchdown against Cincinnati. So, okay, he has 4 total touchdowns on the year. My mistake. He's been a wide receiver 1, 2 of his past 5 games, but those other 3 games he was unusable for fantasy. DJ Moore was. So, you're truly getting all or nothing. Burden, I mean, he's been a part-time player to this point, so it's impossible. But recently he has, like, on average, outperformed DJ Moore on a play-by-play basis. I would probably rank them side by side in the wide receiver rankings, and maybe I slightly put Burden up, ahead of Moore by a spot just because of the potential upside that he has. Maybe I would say like slightly Burden, just because his snap share is going to go up out of necessity tomorrow. Let's see if the minimal work that he's production that he's putting up that is still usurping DJ Moore, maybe the gap increases even more. I'll say Burden by a hair. Your trade deadline is still active? That's crazy. Most leagues, I think the trade deadline has passed, but some leagues I know don't have a trade deadline, or maybe they wait until after the playoffs start before the trade deadline. If you can trade Hampton and Sutton and turn that into Achane, the answer is yes, no doubt. Hampton is very intriguing coming back, but he's probably not going to have a full-time role right away. It might be a couple of weeks before we see that. Sutton has had a mostly disappointing season, and some of that might be attributed to Bo Nix, but also Troy Franklin has had his weeks. Pat Bryant appears to be emerging. There just seems to be some stuff working against Sutton this year. So to turn that into a top 5 running back in Devon Achane, yes, I would 100%. If you can make that happen, especially before tomorrow, and he gets to play the Jets, and you get to play Devon Achane against the Jets, yes, I would do that. I would do that. Tyrod or Stroud? Tyrod, I mean, I like the matchup for Tyrod against Miami. I definitely don't have an issue with it. Stroud, tougher matchup against Houston or against Kansas City, and I think he's making his return from the concussion. Stroud just hasn't been that good. Taylor has 2 QB1 performances in the past couple of weeks. I'll say Tyrod. Tyrod against Stroud, or over Stroud. He's playing Miami, and Tyrod's been decent recently, actually. They seem to have found a rhythm a little bit with their new receivers in Mechie and A.D. Mitchell. So, and he can dump the ball off to Breece Hall. If he makes a big play, Tyrod benefits from that. Tyrod, yeah, in a good matchup against the Dolphins. And then Rodriguez or Charbonnet, two ancillary guys. Well, Rodriguez is the starter. The difference between Rodriguez and Charbonnet, Rodriguez is the starter, but he will come off the field if they are losing that game, and McNichols will come in. Charbonnet is not technically the starter, but he will have a role no matter what, and he is the goal line back. So they're kind of neck and neck. I guess by virtue of the fact that Rodriguez is technically the starter, that's where I would go. That's what I would do. But it's dicey. Charbonnet definitely will split work. Rodriguez will cede opportunities, but if they are winning that game, he will be on the field. If they are trailing, he's not going to see as many snaps. That being said, I do think he is the starter by trade, so I'll save Rodriguez. And then, that's okay. That was asked just below. Same question. Okay, we're good. And then what? You have to pick between Vidal, Hampton, or Burden. I mean, I would probably play Vidal, unless we get some positive vibes on Hampton going into the game, that he doesn't, that he's off the injury report. He's expected to, be the starter right away. And that he's, expected to handle most of the opportunities. I just don't think that's going to happen in the first game back. I think Hampton is and will be the Chargers' RB1. He might not be that definitively this week. I think I would go to Vidal. Good matchup against Philly. No Jalen Carter for them on defense. I would play Vidal. Even if Hampton has a role, I would expect Vidal to have significant usage and involvement while Hampton works his way back. He hasn't played since like week 5 or 6. So I'm going to assume Vidal has a solid role on Monday night with or without Hampton. So I'll take Vidal. And then, week 15, then I might say Hampton. Let's see. Sutton, 80, Mitchell, Shakir, or Debo. Is this a pick one? Sutton gets the Raiders, and he's just been okay. Mitchell, we might be chasing points a little bit if we are going for Mitchell this week. Because he popped off last week and he's been inconsistent. The production or the usage is there. It just needs to turn into production, and that's obviously never a guarantee, especially with guys with no track record. A.D. Mitchell's interesting, but he doesn't have a track record yet. Shakir, very interesting matchup against the Bengals. At home, catching the ball from Josh Allen. That's enticing. Debo gets Jaden Daniels back, so that's good, but it's a tougher matchup. I think I would say Shakir because it's full PPR and he's at home catching the ball from Josh Allen in what could be a shootout against the Bengals. I'll take Shakir. It's a pick one. Yeah, give me Shakir. Full PPR at home, could be a shootout against Cincy. I'll take Shakir. And I'm not worried about the weather. Like I'm just it's going to snow, but like it's not like Shakir's a rookie who comes from, a warm weather climate playing his first ever games in cold weather. It's not like it's not like that. So I'll take Shakir. Greg's got a couple other questions. Again, I got to get to my members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel, but I do see everybody else's questions. And I promise I will get to them. The Chiefs defense got picked up. Who do you have? Do you still have the Rams, Greg? I know you had the Rams, or I think you had the Rams. Is that who? Because I would just play them. I don't want to play Pittsburgh against Lamar on the road just in case Lamar sorts it out. Oh, you have Washington. That's fine. You can just stick with Washington. Philly's interesting, but they don't have Jalen Carter. And then who do they have week 15? Philly's interesting week 15 because they play the Raiders at home. So if you can stash the Eagles, They're not as enticing, but if Jalen Carter is out, but if Jalen Carter can play next week in Week 15, and you're in, and you're going to be in the playoffs, and you can fire up the Eagles at home against the Raiders, I would definitely take that. I would definitely be okay with that. But that is also somewhat dependent on. I would much prefer Jalen Carter plays for them for me to confidently say fire up Philly. I would just play. You're playing Washington this week. If you can pick up Philly without making a significant drop, then great. Don't drop any of your running backs. If you have an ancillary wide receiver, like, okay, fine. And then if Jalen Carter doesn't play next week, I would say they're probably not even worth firing up even at home. Let's just go with Washington for now, though. Okay, Bobby, you don't have to apologize. It's okay. That's technical stuff happens. If you have anything else, feel free to let me know. You can still ask questions. Happy to help if there is anything that you have on your mind. Always appreciate the support. Would I drop Goddard for Loveland? Goddard's been somewhat quiet recently, but he has had a good season on the whole. Yeah, I mean, I guess especially if it's a win and in situation, yeah, I would. If you need a win this week to clinch a playoff spot or stay alive, stay in the race, yeah, I would drop Goddard for Loveland just because Loveland should see, even with Cole Kmet still there, no Rome Odunze is the bigger story here. I'll drop Goddard for Loveland. That's fine. Goddard's been incredibly quiet of late. Or Greg, who are the Houston Texans playing Week 15? At home against Arizona? Actually, maybe do that, Greg. Maybe plan to pick up scratch that at home against Arizona, and Houston doesn't have any significant injuries like the Eagles do on defense. At least I don't think. Yeah, I would pick up Houston and plan to play them next week. Yeah, that works. How much better? How much better do I think? I don't know that I think Achane will be better than Bijan. I mean, yeah, Bijan splits work with Tyler Algier, but he's still awesome, and Achane is also incredible. I mean, they're both top 5 running backs rest of season. It's kind of. I guess by nature, like by virtue of talent, I would probably put Bijan slightly ahead of Achane, but it's close because Tyler Algier takes a lot of work from Bijan. So, it's like flip a coin. If Bijan is 3 or 4, Achane is 4 or 5, and you could probably flip-flop them one way or another. They're both top 5 backs, so, I would say they're the same. Their projections are the same. High-end RB1. And then a must-win week, Daniels, Baker, or Caleb. Caleb's in a tough matchup against the Packers on the road by the numbers, and he doesn't have Rome Odunze. Baker at home is interesting against the Saints. Should be fine. Doesn't have Mike Evans, but he hasn't had him most of the year. And then Daniels making his return to the lineup against Minnesota. It's a tough matchup, but Daniels has the most upside. I would probably go Daniels and hope for the best, even though he hasn't been great this year. He's got his full complement of weapons. He has Terry. He has Debo. He has Zach Ertz. Baker doesn't have his full complement of weapons. He's probably the floor play. I would say if you want to play it safe, play Baker. If you want to swing for the fences, play Jaden Daniels. Caleb on the road without Odunze, I would not start this week. I would not play him. Okay, I got Greg's questions as a perk of being a member of the channel, so I can skip down. Start one flex and one wide receiver. AJ, JJ, Kyron, Hampton, Ladd. These are a lot of really good options. These are a lot of good options. I mean, I want to get Michael Wilson in my lineup by any means necessary. And I know that sounds crazy. Like A.J. Brown, Kyron Williams, Amari and Hampton, Ladd McConkey, Justin freaking Jefferson. You have a lot of high-end talent. You have a lot of like good names. And maybe I'm leaning in too much into a small sample size, but Michael Wilson in 2 games just a couple of weeks ago without Marvin Harrison put up 25 catches in 2 games. He was the overall wide receiver 2 one week and the overall wide receiver 10 the other week. I mean, he's at home. No Marvin Harrison once again. No Greg Dortch. And they're 8 or 9 point underdogs to the Rams, and they can't run the ball. They're going to be throwing 50 times once again. And I would imagine 70, 75, maybe 80% of those targets are going to go to Trey McBride and Michael Wilson. I want to get Michael Wilson in my lineup by any means necessary. At home, no weather. Game script should be in his favor. Usage should be in his favor. They can't run the ball, so they're going to be throwing. That's in his favor. I would take Michael Wilson, I think, as one of these guys. As one of my, whether you put him in the wide receiver or the flex spot. Kyron, I guess you have a lot of good names, so I wouldn't play Justin Jefferson. He's so volatile now with how bad the Vikings offense has been. I would probably go with Michael Wilson as your wide receiver, and I think I would put Kyron in the flex. I know Kyron has been losing work to Blake Corum, but it's a great matchup against Arizona. The Rams should be winning that game, which means they should be running the football. Kyron should be getting plenty of usage. He should, he'll get a goal line. He'll get goal line carries. So if he falls into the end zone and can chip in, 60, 65 yards, catch the ball a couple times, that's a solid floor. I think that's where I would go. I would go Michael Wilson and I would go Kyron. Yeah, that's a deep group of players. That's a deep group of players. You made some, I guess, I don't know what you gave up to get all these guys, but it's a good looking squad. I mean, I'm sorry you can't play more of these guys, to be honest. Because we're talking about a bunch of really good performers and a bunch of high-end talent. And I know that, and I feel like my suggestion sounds crazy. Michael Wilson over Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown and Ladd McConkey, but here we are. JJ's getting killed by his offense. A.J. Brown has been wildly inconsistent this year. Ladd has been good recently, but Justin Herbert fractured his non-throwing hand. So, hopefully his pain tolerance is okay, but that may affect him. Michael Wilson is in a great spot. Jacoby Brissett's been a QB1, high-end QB1 since he entered the starting lineup. I'm chasing the trends. I'm chasing the trends and what I expect the high usage to be. I'll go Michael Wilson, and I'll take the floor in Kyron and expect that he comes through in a good matchup against the Cardinals. Do you drop Pearsall for Burden? Sure. Honestly, that's fine. Pearsall was solid for a couple of games at the start of the season, and then he got hurt, and he missed a ton of time, and he's come back, and he hasn't done anything, and now he's on bye this week. We could say the flip side is, they play the Tennessee Titans coming out of their bye week. Okay. I don't know that I necessarily feel that much better about Ricky Pearsall in that scenario. Christian McCaffrey's still doing his thing. George Kittle's doing his thing. Jawan Jennings right now feels like he has usurped Pearsall on the depth chart. And if San Francisco handles their business against Tennessee and blows them out, that's gonna eliminate opportunities later in the game. Pearsall might once again have a bad performance, and then how could you trust him for the rest of the fantasy playoffs? Yeah, I think it's fine to drop Ricky Pearsall. unless you're desperate at wide receiver and you need to hang on to him and you don't necessarily need to pick somebody up for this week. Like Pearsall, I drop like obviously not. We're not talking about dynasty leagues, but in a redraft league, I dropped Pearsall. I dropped Pearsall. I think I picked up. I don't even remember who I picked up. It doesn't matter. I dropped Pearsall because I was like, my wide receiver depth is fine. I made some trades. I got some better players. I don't need him. Maybe he emerges like in a couple of weeks, but right now I don't need him. I do need somebody who can help me this week. So yeah. Manny popped in. What's going on, Manny? Good to see you. I do. I mean, I remember. I remember the parameters of the trade. You got the trade. You got. Wait. Which side? I remember this trade, but which side did you get? Dart and Wandale for Ekbuka and Jennings. Ekbuka has been quiet recently. He has fallen off. Dart and Wandale obviously are not helpful this week on bye, but. I feel okay about them at the end of the season for to finish off the season. Wandale's been amazing. Without Malik Neighbors. And Jennings has emerged as, I think, the 49ers wide receiver one, not weapon one. That's obviously McCaffrey. Refresh my memory, Manny. I remember, it was, you got the Giants side. Okay. Sure. Wandale is the guy that I think I would. I think I'd rather have Wandale. Maybe not over. Ekbuka got off to such a hot start, but he's got off to recently. He's been super pedestrian. I definitely would rather have Wandale than Jennings, and Wandale has heavily outproduced Ekbuka recently, and with Evans coming back, I think that's fine. And Dart, he was just okay against the Patriots, but first game back after missing a couple of weeks, now he's on bye, he gets some extra rest. I think I expect that to be a good stack for the fantasy playoffs. Dart has looked like a fantasy QB1. Wandale has been a strong wide receiver, too, with PPR wide receiver one upside. Ekbuka is good, but he's fallen off recently. Jennings has looked better recently as well. I guess it's possible Pearsall usurps him. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with getting Dart and Wandale. I know they don't help you this week. I know you're not you're not relying on them this week with the bye week, but I like that return. I'm good with that. Yeah. I think you did just fine. Assuming you needed a quarterback, yeah. Andrews or Loveland? Oh, I do expect Loveland to get more opportunities tomorrow, but it is a good matchup for Andrews. And I kind of want to chase the fact that he got the contract extension. Like, Andrews got paid this week. Whether you agree with it or not is a different story. But the Ravens extended Mark Andrews this week. Like, a vote of confidence in them wanting him to be a part of their short-term future. Like, I kind of like that investment in a massive divisional matchup against Pittsburgh, and it's a good matchup by the numbers. I think I would take Andrews here. Like, I'm very interested in Loveland's potential uptick in usage tomorrow, but, he still has to surpass Cole Kmet. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely is right there, but Mark Andrews still gets like a couple more targets. I'll take Andrews with the contract extension in a good matchup. Andrews. Let's see. Acquiring JSN in a trade is quite impressive. Well done. Well done. Streaming Brian and AD Mitchell. I mean, yeah, it's fine. I mean, we're chasing points potentially a little bit with AD Mitchell because it's just a one-game sample. But it's a good matchup. He's locked into his role as a full-time player for the Jets. Tyrod's been playing decently over the past month. I mean, yeah, sure. A good matchup against Miami. That's fine. Bryant, obviously, we're only just seeing him emerge with a little bit more of a consistent role. But it's a good matchup against Vegas. They invested in him, high draft capital, 3rd-round pick, I believe. Bo Nix hasn't been great this year, but at least the matchup is solid, and we feel good about him, seeing more opportunities. That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Okay. I think we're at the end of the chat. Giving up Woody Marks and Josh Downs for AJ is incredible. I know AJ's been just okay this year, but I would take that shot every freaking time. That's well done. Nicely done on those trades. Let's see. I can keep sticking around. I'm happy to do so. But we are at the end of the chat, so there is currently no wait for questions. If anybody has anything else, obviously a big week tomorrow. Potentially playoff clinching scenarios for a lot of you, if not all of you. I know certain leagues are going to be a little bit different than others. There may be leagues where playoffs have already started. There may be leagues where playoffs don't start until like week 16. But I think for the vast majority of folks, the vast majority of leagues, this is the final week of the regular season. So obviously, best of luck to everybody tomorrow. Hopefully I've been able to help a little bit this year. Hopefully I've helped contribute to making some good decisions. But yeah, let's clinch these playoff spots. My one guy I regret getting? What do you mean? Like in this year? Like drafting or trading? Or yeah, what do you mean? I'm happy to answer. Because I didn't get, obviously, like everybody didn't get every call right this year, but let me know what, if you're talking about drafting or trading. Drafting, I thought Calvin Ridley would be better this year than he has been in years past. Like not years past, like the most recent history of Calvin Ridley. I thought, it's like Cam Ward. I know he's a rookie. The Titans aren't great, but I was like, he'll be better than Will Levis, which is true. But the rest of that offense is so bad, and they fired the coach, and it was off to an awful start, and then Ridley was in and out of the lineup with injuries, and now he's out for the year anyway. That wasn't a good pick. Luckily, that team is still good. I made other right calls. Like that team is in contention. That team is in contention for a bye week. So, but I did myself no favors drafting Calvin Ridley in the 6th. I think it was the 6th round. That was a little too excited. Not excited. Just it was the wrong call. So that wasn't a great one. I didn't like that. I don't think I made any bad trades this year. I only made a few. Well, I have a smaller league out of my 7. 8? Is that 8 leagues? I trade it's this one is like the stakes are lower. Still, I don't think I made a great call on it. I thought I did fine. I traded DeAndre Swift for Rome Odunze. That hasn't worked out. I think Rome had one decent game, and other than that has been not great in the weeks since I got him, and now he's out with a stress fracture, so that wasn't a great trade. Thankfully, I don't care about that one as much, that league in particular, but I will own that was not one of my better moves. So, drafting Calvin Ridley, thinking that he would be solid this year, that didn't work out. And then, I believed in Rome Odunze and thought he was a good buy low candidate in the middle of the season, and that hasn't really worked out. But definitely a good process to, it's easy to look at the moves that you made that you did well and just and pat yourself on the back. But the humblest and the best players, the ones that get better year over year, are the ones big enough to look at their mistakes and be like, "Yep, I messed up on that one." So it's definitely a good exercise to look at, like, not just what went right, but what went wrong as well, because we all have it. Sometimes, and it fluctuates in different years, right? Some years are better than others. Some years you kill every decision you make. Others, you mess up every move you make. Maybe not every single one, but you get what I'm saying. It's good exercise to take a look at. Are you going to Commanders heavy? I mean, look, if they're your best options, then play them. And I'm fine with stacks. You'll get points from Daniels throwing the ball to McLaurin and Ertz if it's half or full PPR scoring. And if they link up on a touchdown, you double up, essentially. Yeah, that's fine. Look, if they are your best options and all three are startable depending on who those other options are, like, yeah, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Wow, Georgia's beating Alabama by 3 scores in the SEC championship. I don't know if any of you guys watch college football. I don't watch it like religiously. I don't watch it every game. I'm glued to NFL Sunday every week, but I watch college where I can, but not all the time. Alabama's getting smacked. Woo boy. Ty Simpson, supposed to be one of the top quarterback prospects in next year's draft, not having a good game. 54 passing yards and an interception through a half and change. Yikes. That's not good. What's going on, Theo? Good to see you. No significant plans for the holidays. I've got family coming out to visit, so that'll be nice. But no, I was traveling for Thanksgiving. That was nice. Got to see a lot of family. Got to see a lot of friends. No travel plans for the remainder of the holidays. I will be staying put, and admittedly, I'm excited about it. I have been on a lot of flights this year, which is awesome, and a privilege that I get to travel as much as I do. But I am ready to sit and hang out for an extended period. But thanks for asking. Let's see. I got other questions in the chat, but I got to get to Sport Dog as one of the members of the channel. But sit tight. I see everybody's questions. I'm not skipping anybody. Just got to take care of the members first. Would I use Vele over Shakir or Pierce? No. Shakir's in a good matchup, Sport Dog. He's in a potential shootout matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, the Bills are chasing the Patriots. The Bengals are scratching and clawing to stay alive in the AFC North. There should be a lot of points scored tomorrow. I want pieces of those offenses. I'll take Shakir and Pierce. I mean, Pierce has emerged. I think Pierce might be the Colts wide receiver 1. In Jacksonville, great matchup. He balled out last week against the Houston Texans. That's a brutal matchup, and he did quite well. Yeah, Vele is interesting after his performance last week, but Shakir and Pierce are more established. I'll take those two. I'll take Shakir and Pierce. Yeah, Dobbins. Well, Dobbins is a 0, but I guess Devontae Smith I'd rather have than Quentin Johnston. So that didn't burn you too bad, though, that trade. Hello to Wyoming. Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. Daniels, and you said it yourself. You need some upside. Bo Nix doesn't really present upside. He hasn't this year. And I know Jaden Daniels actually hasn't either. If you go look at his fantasy finishes per week, it is not good this year. He's still the upside play because of how much he can run. It's not a great matchup for Daniels. It's a good matchup for Bo Nix. But again, Bo hasn't been that good this year. Daniels still presents the Konami code upside of a top flight, performance on the week at the quarterback position because of how much he can and will run. Daniels, swing for the upside. You're going against Gibbs. You might as well shoot for the moon anyway. Bo Nix is a boring floor play. I just can't get behind him, even though it's a decent matchup. I would swing for the fences on Daniels. I know he's definitely volatile. It's his first game back after missing multiple weeks. But we drafted Jaden Daniels, and I know to a certain extent this doesn't matter anymore, but I do like to lean on this. We drafted Jaden Daniels over the summer to be a top 3 quarterback for fantasy purposes. That hasn't materialized. It hasn't come to fruition. But in a must-win situation, I might as well go with the guy that I hitched my wagon to at the beginning of the year and hope that I can get some of that magic from last year. I'll play Daniels over Bo Nix. Yeah, Pickens and Kyren are really good, but giving up McCaffrey is that's a huge swing. But Pickens had a down night on Thursday night. But he's been a wide receiver 1, and Kyren's been solid, so it's not like all, it hasn't not worked out. McCaffrey does look good, though. And then Vele or Chris Rodriguez. This is pretty neck and neck. Again, so Rodriguez should be the starter. He is the starter technically for Washington. The problem is if Washington is losing in this game, McNichols will come in and spell him and get receiving work. Vele came to, as has been good, came to life last week, and the game script should favor the passing game for New Orleans. They should be throwing. They are, I think, 8 or 9 point underdogs on the road, the Saints are, so they're going to throw the ball against Tampa. So volume should be solid. I think I would go if it's half PPR or full PPR, I would say Vele. If it's standard scoring, I may take my shot with Rodriguez. Just know that, if Washington is losing that game, Rodriguez is going to come off the field and Jeremy McNichols is going to go in. So that's the only thing. So if it's half or full PPR, I might just go with the wide receiver. I might just go Vele. What's going on, Kevin? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. And once again, I am at the end of the chat, so if anybody needs anything, there currently is no wait. I'm happy to hang around for a little bit longer. anybody needs anything. If you if you have any questions or if anybody catches this late and you miss me, you can also hit me in Discord. If you're not a member of my Discord, you can join. It's the second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. It is a free evergreen invite. You can hit me over there, and I will be sure to get to it. At some point between now and kickoff. Let's see if we have any other injury updates. There are none. Nothing that we didn't go over at the top of the show as far as new injury updates. Indiana or Ohio State tonight, Kevin? I mean, Mendoza has been awesome this year. I mean, he's a Heisman favorite, right? Or he's one of the Heisman hopefuls. Mendoza's been incredible. Ohio State just has the track record. They're always there at the end. They're always one of the top, 3 to 4 teams in the country, if not number one outright. They won the whole thing last year. They've got championship pedigree. I would like to see some fresh blood. I don't have a college football team. I don't have a team that I root for. I didn't go to a big school. I didn't, I went to college for whatever that's worth. But I didn't go to I did not go to a big school with a big football program. So I don't have a dog in the race. I don't have a team. It's just Ohio State just wins every freaking year. Maybe not the Natty, but they win big games all the time. I would love to see some fresh blood and some new faces and see Indiana pull it off. And I'm very interested to see how Mendoza does against what's going to be NFL caliber talent on defense on the other side. I would like to see how Mendoza plays in this game because he's a very interesting quarterback prospect for next year. For us NFL heads. So I want, above all else, more than anything else, I think, I root for, when we get these good players, when we get these high-end talent, these high-end prospects for the NFL, the natural inclination is you want to see them do well, right? You want to see them play well, and then you want to see them build their stock, build their confidence, get drafted in the NFL at a high, with a high first round pick and deliver on expectations. We want to see players play well. Obviously, if you're a fan of the Buckeyes, you don't want to see Mendoza play well tonight, but everybody else, I mean, especially NFL fans, I would like to see Mendoza play well tonight. Let's see how he does against the number one team, and an incredible defense, Caleb Downs, there's so much talent. Let's see how Mendoza does. That's what I'm most interested in this Big Ten championship game tonight. I assume Ohio State is going to win, but just for the sake of upsets and pulling for the underdog, I would like to see Indiana do it. I don't think they will, but let's see if Mendoza can have a crazy game. That's what I would like to see. I want to see Mendoza go nuts in this game. I want to see him play well. That's what I care about the most. That being said, I think the Buckeyes are going to win. Any predictions for Woody Marks this week? He's getting opportunities, and he should maybe, if you think it's possible that Kansas City is playing with a lead, they have Mahomes, they're at home, then Woody should catch the ball a little bit. I mean, he's a flex play. He's not doing a ton with the opportunities that he has, but he's getting the work. And at the end of the day, that matters. That matters. So, yeah, he's in flex consideration, RB3. He's in the RB3 range. If you have PPR scoring, if he can catch the ball a little bit, if Houston's trailing, That would be good. He's an RB3 flex. He's getting volume. He's just not really doing a whole heck of a lot with it. So he's startable in the flex, but we don't have, super high expectations for him. Yeah, I don't have super high expectations for him. Okay. All right. There aren't any more questions at this time. Maybe everybody's all good. So I guess I'll just take this time now to let everybody know, hopefully everybody clinches a playoff spot tomorrow or clinches a bye week if you're already in, or gets favorable matchups, whatever the situation is. But I will be available for the fantasy playoffs. We'll be back on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for waiver wire help. At this point of the season, pickups are going to be slim unless, hopefully not, but if there's a significant injury, that would open the door potentially depending on who's available on the wire and who makes sense to pick up. So we can get into all of that on Tuesday. Everybody's waiver situation is going to be a little different. Availability is going to fluctuate, is going to change. But I will make sure that I am available on Tuesday for waivers and just general thoughts as we start, for most leagues, the fantasy playoffs. Sport Dog, I would play Warren and Vidal. I would not play Woody Marks. Warren, better matchup and better player. Warren's a better player than Woody Marks. Yes, he's in a committee, but he's a better player. So I'll take Jaylen Warren. And Vidal, I don't know if he's a better player than Woody Marks, but he is in a better offense. He's in a better situation. And even if Amari Hampton comes back on Monday night, I would expect Vidal to still have a significant workload. That could change as soon as next week, and Hampton flips the script. But for his first game back, he's missed a lot of time. I would expect Vidal to have a solid, significant role for at least one more week, even if Hampton plays. So, and the Eagles are without Jalen Carter, so it's a good matchup. Give me Warren, give me Vidal. Okay. I don't know that there's anything else at this time. So I may call it. It's the holidays. Everybody's busy. Everyone's got stuff going on. Fair enough. What's going on, Crumply Heads? Good to see you. Jacoby or Herbert? This one's straightforward for me, actually. I'm going Jacoby, and it's just because I don't know that I want to, if I don't have to deal with Justin Herbert's, his left hand and the pain tolerance and everything that he's dealing with right now, and I can just pivot to a guy who has been a top 5 quarterback since he entered the starting lineup, I'll just go that way. I know he doesn't have Marv, and I know he doesn't have Greg Dortch, but what he does have, Jacoby, he's got an elite tight end in Trey McBride. He's got a guy who clearly is capable of stepping up in Michael Wilson, and he's got volume on his side because the Cardinals can't run it, so they're going to throw it 50 times. And they're underdogs against a much better team in the Rams, so that leads to even more pass attempts in all likelihood. Jacoby. Herbert's obviously the better quarterback, but it's not as good of a matchup, and he's dealing with pain tolerance from a fracture in his left hand that could severely impact him. I'll take Brissett. I'll take Jacoby. Yeah. I'll take Jacoby. Herbert or Ward? Well, then I would play Herbert. Ward is too much of a risk. Ward is too much of a risk. On the road against Cleveland, no thanks. No thanks. That's a scenario where I'll just say, okay, fine. Then I'll play Herbert. Yeah. Yeah. Jacoby or Herbert? Jacoby. Herbert or Ward? Herbert. What's going on, Evan? Good to see you. Igbuka, McConkey, or Devin Neal in the flex in full PPR. I mean, Igbuka's been quiet. Like, the volume is solid, but the production hasn't been there. McConkey feels a little bit more volatile because of the injury to Justin Herbert, but he's been the better player recently. McConkey. And then Devin Neal on the road against Tampa. That just feels like a tough spot. Okay, McConkey's been up and down as well, but he does have 2 wide receiver 1 performances in his past 5 games. And last week was a wide receiver 2 performance. Igbuka had a wide receiver 4 performance a few weeks ago, but in the past 3 games, he's been outside the top 40. Yuck. Igbuka. It's close, but I think the difference for me is just Justin Herbert. That left hand, the pain. I know he's going to play, so I feel better about McConkey, but the pain tolerance could affect him. I don't know that there's any such issues with Baker. Decent matchup at home. Slightly tougher matchup for McConkey. I'll take Igbuka, but he's tough to trust right now. I'll say Igbuka. Let's see. Dobbs or Worthy for Crumply Heads? Dobbs. I mean, Worthy has been so... He hasn't done anything. he just hasn't done anything. I'll take the shot on Dobbs. Yes, Jaden Reed is back, but he's going to probably just be in a part-time role at best. Matthew Golden is questionable. It's still probably going to be mostly Dobbs and Christian Watson, and it's a good matchup against the Bears. It's a brutal match. On top of Worthy doing very little this year, it's a brutal matchup against Houston. I'll take Dobbs. Yeah. Worthy's got to be among the most disappointing players this year. Off the top of my head, I'm like, it's draft capital relative to expectations. I mean, him, Lamar, Jane Daniels hasn't been great and has been hurt. Like, yeah, it's and Worthy got a huge boost because of the Rice injury off the top of the season. So, yeah, it's been bad. I'll take Dobbs. And then, Evan, what do I think about Barner versus Evan Ingram? I mean, Evan Ingram has been he's been very, for the most part, afterthought in that offense. And Bo Nix has not been playing well. So, he doesn't really do anything for me. Barner, it's not a great matchup by the numbers, but the Falcons' season has completely spiraled out. Barner, 4 for 35 last week. They didn't really need to do anything through the air. They killed Minnesota. 2 for 18 against the Titans. 10 for 70 through 3 weeks ago. Ingram. 6 for 79 last week. That wasn't a good matchup. But prior to that, okay. Tight end 19. Well, that was four catches for 33 yards. Whoop-de-doo. I don't feel like I guess slightly Barner just because of the better quarterback play. Darnold has been better this year than Bo Nix, and I guess that's what I'm going off of. So I'll take Barner over Ingram, Evan. Yeah. I'll take Barner. Okay, those are the member questions. Start 1.5 PPR. Brian Thomas or Egbuka. Egbuka. I mean, Egbuka hasn't been great this year, but recently. Egbuka was great at the start of the season. He hasn't been great recently. Brian Thomas has been bad all year. Maybe he's getting healthy, but we just have nothing to work with, nothing to go off of with him. It's been a terrible, terrible season for Brian Thomas. At least Egbuka, I mean, he's in a solid matchup, and at least Egbuka has done something this year. Brian Thomas has done nothing this year. I'll take Egbuka. I'll take Egbuka over Brian Thomas. Need Brian Thomas to do something before we go back to him. And yeah, if you have, if you have Jacoby Brissett and Justin Herbert, I'm actually advocating for Jacoby Brissett this week. I'm just a little, Herbert's going to play, and that's all well and good, but I'm worried about the pain tolerance that he has to deal with. And yes, they don't have Jalen Carter. Philly doesn't, but they still have good pieces on that defense. Jacoby is throwing the ball 50 times a game. He's been a top 5 quarterback since he entered the starting lineup, and the Cardinals are 8 or 9 point underdogs this week against the Rams at home. They are going to be throwing, and they can't run it. They can't run the ball. I prefer Jacoby. Jacoby's a top 8 play this week. Herbert's more of a low-end QB1 for me because of the matchup and the questions and concerns about his hand. It's his non-throwing hand, but still, you're playing with a broken bone or a fractured bone in your hand. If anything happens, that's going to freaking hurt. That's an understatement. Like, I'll take Jacoby. And then Daniels, Nix, or Lawrence. I'm swinging for the fences with Jaden Daniels, I think. Bo Nix hasn't been great this year. Lawrence has been solid recently. But, he can turn into a pumpkin at any time. I know Daniels hasn't been great, but he's back. He's healthy. We had high-end, top 3 overall QB expectations for him. He's got his full complement of weapons. He's got Terry. He's got Debo. He's got Zach Ertz. And he'll run. Daniels, more than any of these other guys, will run the ball. So I'll take the Konami code upside. I'll swing for the fences with Daniels and just hope for the best, even though his performances this year have not been great relative to expectation. I'll take Daniels. I'll take Daniels. Just checking to see if there's any more injury updates. Not seeing anything new. Mayfield or Jacoby? Probably still Jacoby. I mean, Baker is a great quarterback, but he has not been putting up huge numbers. And, without Mike Evans, his ceiling has been capped this year. It's a good matchup. For Baker. I mean, Jacoby has been a top 5 quarterback. I keep going back to that. Jacoby's been a top 5 quarterback since he has entered the starting lineup. I think I say Jacoby. It's close. But I think I go Jacoby. And then Crumply heads Gadsden or Otten. Not Otten. Otten's not fantasy relevant, even with the injuries to their wide receiver room. It's a good matchup, but I just don't trust Otten. I guessed Gadsden. And he's tapered off too recently, and the injury to Herbert stinks. This might be Dynasty, so there may not, for you, I think it is Dynasty, so there may not be a lot of good options on the waiver wire for you. I mean, is A.J. Barner out there? I might even consider him. If not, then I guess Gadsden. And just hope that Herbert is well enough to find him a couple of times. I'll take Gadsden. But I don't love either play. I don't love either option. You have to start one of them. Okay. I'll take Gadsden. I'll take Gadsden. Evan, you have to start Lamar in 3 leagues. That's a lot of. Oh, boy. That's a lot of stake in a player who you have to rock with, but he has been difficult to trust this year. I mean, best of luck. It makes sense. You know, if there's any guy you want to put all your chips in on, even though he's been struggling, I mean, yeah, at least it's a good matchup, and, you know, he has the track record. He has the pedigree. That's pretty much what we're banking on. Who would I play between Reed, Franklin, Vele, Mitchell, Mechie, Higgins? Oof. This is quite a hodgepodge. I mean, there's some interesting names here, but it's tough to trust some of these guys. I mean, AD Mitchell is probably the swing for the fences upside play. And I assume that's Jaden Higgins and not T. Higgins, because obviously if it's T. Higgins, you're going T. Higgins. I think my answer here is Mitchell. I'm not playing Jaden Reed because it's his first game back from such an extended absence. He's not even probably going to be a full-time player. Franklin appears to be losing opportunities to Pat Bryant, so I kind of want to see how that shakes out before I go back to Franklin. Vele, yeah, I know he's had a couple of nice weeks here. Mitchell or Mechie. Mitchell feels like we might be chasing points a little bit. And it's anybody like Mitchell, and nobody has established themselves for the Jets as a wide receiver 1 yet. I guess they technically got they got A.D. Mitchell in the Sauce Gardner trade, so maybe he's considered their number 1. And then Higgins is a good player, a nice number 2 to Nico Collins. It's not a great matchup. It is a good matchup for the Jets. I'll say A.D. Mitchell and just hope for the best. I know we might be chasing points a little bit from last week, but, you know, he is heavily involved. He's a full-time player. It's a good matchup against the Dolphins, and Tyrod has been playing decently over the past couple of weeks. I'll take A.D. Mitchell. I'll take A.D. Mitchell. Yeah. Oh, you made playoffs in 2 or 3. All right. But still, now we still need to see a good performance from Lamar before it's like, okay, we're locked and loaded. Like, I feel confident. We need that good performance going into the postseason. So hopefully you get it this week. Waller or Strange? I'm inclined to say Strange strictly because it's going to be cold in New York tomorrow, and Tua struggles in cold weather. And when I say it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. For some people, for some of you, for anybody who lives in the Northeast or the Midwest, 40 degrees probably doesn't, I don't know if you would classify that as cold. Tua would. Tua Tagovailoa would classify that as cold. And when it's cold, he doesn't play well. His production dips. So I'll take Strange. Playing in Florida, comfortable, decent matchup, been playing well recently. I'll take Strange. I'll take Strange over Waller. Waller's a good stash, but I don't want to play, Jalen Waddle you have to fire up in most scenarios, but I don't really want to play ancillary pass catchers in a cold weather game for Miami because Tua historically does poorly in those games. And Franklin or Godwin. Okay. Both make me nervous. I would rather play like an AD Mitchell if he's available and take the shot on that. But if he's not available, I'll say Franklin. It's a good match. Godwin has not been great. Godwin has been a part-time player. It's not a bad matchup, but I'll take Franklin. He's been a little bit more involved. Decent matchup against the Raiders. I don't love either. If AD Mitchell is out there, I think I would rather grab and play him over either one of these guys. But if you have to play one, I would say Franklin. Crumply Heads, Washington or Philly? Washington. The Vikings' offense is awful. Well, their quarterback situation is awful. And I know Washington's defense isn't great, but I'll take the matchup. Philly, yes, for all of my concerns about Justin Herbert, it's still Justin Herbert, and they don't have Jalen Carter. So, and they got killed on the ground in the run game last week with Jalen Carter. So, what's it going to look like without him? I worry a little bit about that. I would play Washington. Evan, if Tua goes off, all the credit to him. I just don't trust him. He's 0-7 in games where the temperature is 40 degrees or lower at kickoff. He's 0-7. So, good luck, Tua. And I don't think it's going to be bitterly cold tomorrow, but still, the numbers are the numbers. The proof is in the pudding. Tua doesn't do well in cold weather games. I guess it's certainly a get-right spot because the Jets traded all their defensive talent away, but still, I just don't trust Tua. I don't trust him. We shall see. I would hope you don't have Tua. I mean, super flex formats, of course, but that's about it. Okay. Just a reminder, if anybody does have any questions that come in late, if you miss me, you can hit me in Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. We are at the end of the chat. Let's see. Who am I most excited about this week? Oh, I don't know. Who do I feel super confidently about? I think I guess I've been pounding the table for Michael Wilson all day. I guess I'll say him. Let's see. I guess I am sticking my neck out for Michael Wilson. I have suggested him multiple times today over some big-time names. So I guess I'm riding with Michael Wilson. I guess that's the guy that I'm excited about. I think he's, it's a very small sample size, but I think he's going to have another really rock solid performance, a really strong performance tomorrow. I suggested him over Waddle for somebody. I suggested him over A.J. Brown for somebody. Like, he put up 2 big-time wide receiver 1 weeks without Marvin Harrison, and now Marv is out once again, and so is Greg Dortch. At home, I think Michael Wilson's going to have a real nice day. Yeah. Very curious to see if he can continue to emerge in a larger role. Yeah, I'll say Michael Wilson. Gadsden or Fannin? Fannin. Fannin has looked really good. Fannin's looked great. At home against Tennessee, I have no concerns there. And I know we're down to Shedeur, but, the Browns' offense looked okay. Like, it's not a bad matchup. They looked okay against the Raiders. And, what's David Njoku's status? Fannin has, usurped him at this point. Oh, he's set to play. It doesn't matter. Fannin has already surpassed him. I would definitely play Fannin over Gadsden. Fannin for sure. Okay. I am going to start winding this thing down. So if you have any other questions, take the next couple of minutes to get those in, to get those entered. Again, if you do miss me, you can hit me in Discord. You can ping me, however you need to get a hold of me. I'm happy to talk shop and help over there. If you are not in Discord yet, second link in the description of this live stream and all streams and videos on the channel. It is a free evergreen invite. You can ask questions over there. You can ask me. You can crowdsource the community. Whatever you need to do to get the help that you are looking for to help finalize your starting lineup. If there is nothing else, obviously, best of luck, everybody, tomorrow. Assuming that these are playoff clinching scenarios for most of you. The fantasy playoffs start for many, if not all, after this week. So best of luck. Hopefully these streams, your time with me has been more helpful than hurtful this year. I know that obviously I didn't, not going to get every call right, but, I give you my best when I can. Think things out, talk things through, see what makes the most sense from what's on paper, vibes, matchup, all those factors. So hopefully it was more helpful than not this year, and hopefully it helped contribute into you getting into the playoffs. Or even better, you got a bye week lined up, or you're just sitting pretty in general. I will be back on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for playoff waiver wire help, and then just general conversations leading into the first round of the postseason, the fantasy postseason. I will be here then, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Waddle, AJ, Pittman, Swift. In standard scoring too. Standard scoring makes it so that it's like, do I actually want to say DeAndre Swift? Just because that, those valuable catches are taken away. Like, Waddle is such a PPR machine. Oh, it's start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Okay. I would still go Waddle, even though you don't get the points for PPR. And I would go Swift. I would go with the running back since it's standard scoring, even though the matchup isn't great. The Bears are going to be looking for production wherever they can get it otherwise outside of Adunze being out. And then rest of season, Dart or Jaden Daniels. I would roster both. I want to I guess Daniels possibly, but that's going to be week to week. Daniels has been up and down this year. Dart has been mostly good this year, but he's been out of the lineup as well. That's going to be a situational thing to figure out each week. I would rather just roster both, and then we'll take it one step at a time. Dart is exciting, but Daniels had the high expectations coming into the year, so I want to roster both and figure it out as I go. Okay. I think that'll do it for me. Special shout out to all of my members. Bobby, Greg, I saw Sport Dog. I saw E111. I saw Manny. I saw Kevin. I saw Crumply Heads. I saw Evan. And I think those are all of the members that I saw. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out, and especially the members for their continued support. Let's see. Need to start one wide receiver and one flex. I am feeling restful. I hope you are as well. Franklin, Monangai, Waller, Fannin, Charbonnet, Reed, Burden. Wow. Full PPR. Not Franklin. Too many concerns with the potential emergence of Pat Bryant. No Jaden Reed. Probably not going to have a full-time role tomorrow. First game back in extended absence. Not Waller. I don't trust Tua in cold weather games. So I'm ruling those three guys out. So I'm down to Monangai, Fannin, Charbonnet, and Burden. I think I would roll the dice on Burden since it's full PPR. No Rome Odunze. DJ Moore has been pedestrian this year. We could be getting a larger look, a larger role for Luther Burden. So I think I'll rock with him. And then between Monangai, Fannin, and Charbonnet, I do like Fannin, but I worry about starting a tight end over like viable running backs. Monangai showed out last week. He's going to have to do the same in another tough matchup this week. Fannin is in a good matchup. Charbonnet, splits opportunities with Walker, and he gets the goal line work, but he's kind of bleh. I will say Burden and Fannin. I will say Burden and Fannin, and I will swing for the upside. I think there's a non-zero chance that Burden is the Bears wide receiver 1 tomorrow, not DJ Moore. And then, Fannin I feel good about. He's one of the consistent pass catchers the Browns have. The young quarterbacks have liked throwing him the ball all year. I imagine that'll continue tomorrow at home against the Titans. What's the weather in Cleveland? Just to take a look. It's going to be cold, but it doesn't look like there's going to be significant wind. 10 to 12 mile per hour. Okay. Yeah, I'm not super worried about that. I think that'll be okay. I'll say Burden and Fannin. Swing for the upside and lean into the PPR scoring, take some pass catchers and hope for the best. I think I'm okay with that. And then Alec Pierce, Godwin, or Sutton. This one's clear for me. It's Alec Pierce. He has emerged potentially as the Colts wide receiver 1. Godwin has not had a great season. Sutton has had an up and down year. Some of that might be Bo Nix. Some of that might be, Franklin has looked good, and now Bryant appears to be emerging. I'll take Pierce, who appears to be on the uptick. He appears to be on the upswing. He had a nice game last week in a brutal matchup against Houston. Now he gets a good matchup against Jacksonville. Pierce has been good. Godwin has been a part-time player. And Sutton, Sutton's just been okay. He's only just been okay this year. It's a good spot against the Raiders. I just don't have that much confidence in Bo Nix. I think Pierce has the most upside and a strong floor. I think I would go Pierce. He's emerging. The arrow's pointing up on Pierce. It feels like it's pointing down on Godwin. Maybe it's flat for Sutton, but I'll take the swing for Alec Pierce. He might be the Colts wide receiver 1. He might be the Colts wide receiver 1. I hope your quarterback's not Bo Nix, because I just got done talking about how it's like he's been a problem this year. He hasn't been that good. Hopefully that's not the case. If it is, let's see what's on the waiver wire and make some changes, potentially. But he has not been great this year. I assume Jacoby Brissett isn't still out there. He's been a stud QB1 for a while. Yeah. Okay. Well, at least it's a good matchup. At least it's a good matchup against the Raiders tomorrow. But he didn't do anything against the Raiders a few weeks ago. It's been a disappointing season for Bo. Hopefully a good matchup by the numbers can get him right. Okay, guys, I got to go, but I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Thank you for your questions. Best of luck tomorrow, clinching those playoff berths. Well done to everybody this regular season. I know the fantasy season is a grind. To be in playoff contention by itself is an accomplishment. Obviously, we have bigger fish to fry. We all want to win championships, but you got to get there first. You got to clinch first. So, best of luck in doing so. Hit me in Discord if you need anything. Second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. If you need anything before kickoff, I will make sure I am around. Best of luck. I will be back on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. We can look at playoff waivers and then general temperature check around the NFL based on what happens tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.